progress.
Okay, friends, in some short time, the world is in for a treat, an amazing phenomenon which is rather rare, to see a solar eclipse. The question is, what should one say when they see a solar eclipse? Yesterday I spoke about whether you make a bracha on a solar eclipse, because the examples given in the Shulchan Aruch and Siman Reish Chav Zayin are very specific. A shooting star, an earthquake, thunder, lightning, wind, but an eclipse was not mentioned. And when they asked Reb Vosner regarding whether one should make an Oisam Asabereshis on, let's say, in a volcanic eruption, he said, definitely, obviously, for sure. Why doesn't the Shulchan Aruch talk about it? Why doesn't the Gemara talk about it? They didn't live near volcanoes. But when he was asked about an eclipse, he says, it's not clear. It's a suffix. It's a suffix whether you make a bracha. Now we discussed, well, if it's a suffix, maybe it's a suffix if you could even look at it, because you're putting yourself in a situation where you don't know if you can make a bracha or not. Reb Chaim Kanievsky said that no, we only make a bracha on what Chazal were masakein. We don't make a bracha on anything that's not in Shulchan Aruch. But we see not like that from Rav Vosner, because Rav Vosner held you make an Oisam Asabereshis even on a volcanic eruption. Now, maybe you'll say we could. There's a way out of this whole mess, and that is, it was sent to me. Let me see if I could get this up. You could say a nusach that gets you out of the problem. What do? You could say, Vayivarech David es Adonai le'enei kol hakol, Vayomer David, Baruch atah Adonai le'hei Yisrael avinu me'olam v'yad olam, L'cha Adonai hagedula v'hagvura v'atiferes v'hanetz v'ahoy k'chol b'ashmar b'aretz, L'cha Adonai ha'mamlacha v'ha'mesaser l'chol ha'roish. Oisam Asabereshis. So basically you're saying a pasuk. You're not saying Melech ha'olam, you're saying a pasuk. And then you're attaching it to Oisam Asabereshis. So it's like it's a trick whenever you're mesupik, whether you make a bracha or not. Or, they say, if you write a new sefer, there's a question, do you make hatoy v'hametiv, do you not? So you say this nusach, and then you say hatoy v'hametiv. And at first I was thinking, okay, I'm going to do this. Especially if the only reason not to say it is because, well, it's not found in Chazal, so maybe you don't have to make a bracha. But I was thinking, okay, but there's nothing wrong if you say this. Is there something wrong if you say it? But I'm having second thoughts, because when they asked Reb Chaim Kanievsky why weren't Chazal masakein a bracha on a solar eclipse, Reb Chaim Kanievsky said, it's not a siman tov. You don't make a bracha on something that's not a good omen. After all, the Gemara in Sukkah says there are 4 sins that cause a solar eclipse. If a great Av Bezin was not eulogized properly, if a woman was abused and nobody came to her aid, or because of Mishkav Zachar, or because 2 brothers were murdered simultaneously. So therefore, you don't make a bracha. So I would say, according to Reb Chaim Kanievsky, it's not appropriate to say this either. You're supposed to marvel and take a lesson from the wonders of Hashem, but it's not appropriate to say a bracha. Now in the Mesoras Moshe, they bring that on the first night of Sukkot there was a partial eclipse, one time, a partial lunar eclipse, and they asked him, should they make Oisam Asabereshis, or maybe it has to be a full eclipse? And Rav Moshe said, well, nothing is mentioned in the Gemara, and therefore Chazal were not masakin any bracha, and therefore you don't make a bracha. But then in a footnote it brings that the Gra says we don't make a bracha on Puranos. That's why we don't make a bracha Mayim Achronim. So I'm a little bit torn. If the reason we don't make a bracha is it's not a siman toiv, l'chayra, we should not say anything. With Hashem's name, without Hashem's name, you don't make a bracha. With, even if you're going to couch it in a pasuk, but it's not, you're not mivarech as Hashem on something which is not a siman toiv. But now I'm thinking as well, if Rav Moshe said that you don't say a bracha because Chazal were not masakein, so then they were also not masakein to say this. So if you want to take into account Reb Vazner Safek, then maybe this would be appropriate to say. But according to Reb Chaim Kanievsky, who says that it's not a siman toiv, so you don't make a bracha, I would say you don't say this either. And according to Reb Moshe that Chazal were not masakein, I would also say Chazal were not masakein this. You want to say it? Probably according to that svara, maybe there wouldn't be anything wrong if you said it, but I would personally choose not to say it. So the bottom line is, what should you say when you see the solar eclipse? You shouldn't say anything. You should watch it. You should take to heart the message of the Gemara, of the Chatam, that could have elicited. Maybe you don't have the proper kavod Torah, or the way the Maharal interprets it, that we don't love the Torah enough, and therefore the sun, so to speak, is not shining. But in terms of a formula of what to say, l'chayra, the psak of Reb Chaim and even Reb Moshe would direct us not to say anything. And I want to share with you one more thing.